Okay, so last time we started to talk about the EthikOS project, about its architecture. From the architecture perspective, there is one thing which is a very little extension about having the device, which is the sensor, we call ILOT, which means that internet list of things that they're collecting the data, but they are separating from the rest of the cloud. And the thing is that at the last moment when I say, well, if I have this architecture, can I actually implement the most powerful servers such as Facebook, such as Google? Can I still do that when the information is separate? Because essentially, we have seen, in fact, in this class already, a few major paradigms in today's information technology is basically harvesting information from the society, and it's totally out of control about the society member, about how this information will be converted to the economic value for those company, for the stakeholder, but not necessarily. Not necessarily means that it's not always negative. Some of this are positive, but it's basically something which is might be even against us, such as, for example, Cambridge Analytica as a situation. Okay, so I have actually two things I want to talk about. First is I'm going to show you why that having the separation address some of the fundamental problem about the issue we have today as information technology. The second part, I want to show the positive side, how this architecture can actually really integrate it into a both ethic awareness, but also have us, individual user, has some control, has some awareness, and then we are being respect about this information society. So what I try to do is we try to shift from the mess we have today, the scandal, the issue that concern most of the people, except those people who actually control the resources, to a status for our information technology society such that we have more balance, that each one of us, you and me, as the participant, regardless where we are in the society, whether we are the richest 1% or the poorest 1%, we will be able to engage the experiment or veil of ignorance, something like that. Okay, so first let me actually start saying that why the current situation is not that good. So you probably heard about the concept of social algorithm. So let me just very briefly mention the idea of social algorithm again, and just want to tell you that why is the problem. In fact, you can actually write a paper. Until today, I haven't seen any student actually have a pretty innovative insight into either why social algorithm is unethical. I will explain to you somewhat, but also how do we actually design the social algorithm such that it will be more ethical. I would not say definitely ethical, but more ethical. How do we actually design that? So what is a social algorithm? Social algorithm is a recommendation system that's actually receiving the information from the society. And the thing is that then you have all the media source. So media source, they are representing all the content that's produced by some company. And social algorithm basically decide based on people's interest, decide that what information need to deliver to who. So that's the idea of social algorithm. So this architecture has been fairly popular for at least, I would say, 20 years that we have been working on that. But you will see, what I'm going to tell you is that between 2016 and 2020, you can see the change that how this algorithm become manipulated. You can see that this algorithm is so important because it controls our channel. I mean, if you think about deontology or Kant's ethic theory, that we actually need to decide ethically, autonomously, based on our own judgment, our own self-legislation without being influenced by outside. And you just look at this algorithm when you receive news, when you receive a short clip of video, when you receive the comments from others. I mean, it's unintentionally, or some of the cases actually intentionally. And such that in this case, we got influenced to do that. Okay, so that is actually social algorithm. So because social algorithms are so important, that this becomes a battlefield for information warfare, for people to actually try to use that, to actually launch that as a weapon to do, for example, network propaganda. By the way, there is another side effect about this, it's actually hurting journalism. So what was journalism? Journalism was that I try to be developing something that's interesting to the society. That's actually our member society, regardless you are left or right. You actually deserve to actually receive what's going on. That's their mission. I mean, for example, investigative journalism, they're so good. They're actually find out things like a scandal, things like a money laundering, such as what we call Panama paper or Paradise paper, or even the other one is Pentagon paper. I mean, there's 3P paper you probably will learn for the rest of the quarter. One is called Panama paper and the Paradise paper. They're both about money laundering. And the other paper is called Pentagon paper, which is actually talk about how our own DOD or President of the United States, not just one, a few of them, and actually when they have this war against in Vietnam, and there was a lot of detail that has not been, it's kind of surprising to a lot of us. So that at that time, Washington Post and New York Times, they were actually being sued by the government and go into the Supreme Court, and because they revealed some of the highly classified information about that whole thing. If you watch the movie, I think it's called The Post. It's a wonderful movie, and at the end it was fantastic. Historically, Supreme Court basically say the journalism, they won. They actually have the right to do that. So you can see that journalism has a very important goal in our society. But with social algorithm, unfortunately, how do I say that? The journalism need to survive. The advertisement cost, so number one, the subscription, no longer we actually go to newsstand to buy the hard copy newspaper. Very few of us. And the thing is, the advertisement cost, guess what? It's basically taken up by Google and Facebook. How can the news media, especially a smaller one, how can they actually survive? And they have to please the social algorithm to make sure their story is being distributed. So basically the media source, they are actually working very hard. I will show you quantitative example that how Fox News and New York Times, even such a big guy, how they react to social algorithm. Okay, so just to let you know that this is the landscape of the news media. We have left wing, this is the left wing over here. And this is the right wing. And not surprised that you have, I mean, by the way, this is called media bias chart. This is called media bias chart. They try to classify media into liberal, conservative, fact-oriented, and fabricated-oriented. So they actually come out with this chart. There is a newer version similar to this one. I just picked up this one a few years ago. So for example, Fox News is here, and Bar is here, Blaze is here, and US Uncut is there, Daily Cost, and then you can go all the way CNN, Time, and a lot of this, Wall Street Journal and NPR, everything is here. Okay, so this is basically a chart. Well, I actually have to say that I'm not even sure that this chart has no bias itself. This is actually very difficult. We have to challenge the concept. And who actually made the chart, by the way, is the journalists themselves. They actually decide what to do. And therefore, they actually put this chart. Is this bias? I would say there is certainly amount of bias there. Let me give you one of the innovation that the student, ecs188, a few years ago, they actually, or maybe not a few years ago, I think it's during pandemic, they actually did a great job. They look at this. They look at, I don't know if you know, there is autonomous vehicle program by, I think it was Uber, and they killed someone in Arizona. And that stopped Uber's program in autonomous vehicle back then, a few years ago. And so the student actually looked at all the article reporting that particular incidents, because that has created, I mean, at that time, there was a lot of left and right people actually criticized, saying that, hey, this is horrible. You create this monster that's killed people. But the only one which the student found that's actually neutral was actually by Blaze. The only one who actually looked at the whole video to show that this person is actually jaywalking. And just there's no way, even if this is a real human driver, the chance they're going to hit this person is equally to the autonomous. And guess where is the Blaze? Blaze is here. If you look at this chart, you probably never want to read any article from Blaze. I mean, especially if you're somewhere in the left side. So why do I want to bother to read this? But you can see that sometime we found out that even this chart that has its bias. And not just to mention now the social algorithm try to learn our preference, matching this kind of chart. And guess what kind of news do you think you are actually going to receive? Okay, so let me actually tell you some. Oh, let me actually show you the pattern. Okay, so this is the pattern we actually look at when Fox News posts something on Facebook. We actually look at all the news they're posting, and so this is from 0 hour to 24 hours. This is from April 2008. I think the data over here is 2000. Let's actually pick. I forgot. I must have the original data. Sorry. Let me move it a little bit. Yeah, I love that's better. I think it's 2018, 2017. That's the end of the data I put. Yeah, 2018. Because Facebook actually disabled the API such that I no longer can actually directly automatically look at this around this time. So that's why it's about February 18. So for the whole 10 or 11 years, you look at the time, that's when Fox News decide to put something, to post something on the Facebook. So you have to understand a little bit about social algorithm. We say social algorithm is selecting information. In fact, it's more than that. So I actually wrote 3 or 4 papers on this. So if you're interested, I can give you the paper. So essentially, if you post something, within the first 45 seconds and 90 seconds, within like 1.5 minutes, if your post didn't collect enough likes and comments, Okay, just remember, only the lifetime is about 60 to 90 seconds. If you actually didn't collect enough comments, this post is dead. Because the social algorithm will decide, hey, I have so many things I can post. And why should I bother with this one? Because I have so many, and it seems to me the first 1.5 minutes, you didn't collect enough comments or like. Then, so essentially, it's economics. Is the more popular getting longer time to survive. Guess how I'm going to change that? I have to actually post when you guys are online. If you guys are not online, I'm not going to do that. So why is that? Because the social algorithm, the modern social algorithm was changed around 2012. So before 2012, what is the journalists they're doing? The journalism they're doing, they actually prepare newspaper in the midnight. Remember, they have a 3 a.m. deadline. All the reporter has to gather all the information. 3 a.m. deadline, they put everything in print. 5 a.m., you actually got a new copy of the newsstand. So they always post based on that in the midnight. Then they realized it didn't work with the social algorithm, the way I described. So they opposite, they actually post at a time, and eventually they realize there are people from everywhere. I just actually post almost all the time. So that's Fox News. Let's take a look. New York Times is exactly the same. It's exactly the same because all the media, when they realize how important social algorithm is, so they have to change their behavior. So you can see that it's a clear influence about how the social algorithm is influence all the media company. Okay, so just like to tell you that what is the interesting perspective. I want to show you another example. This is one of the Occupy movement. So this is actually even before 2000. This is actually 2011. I mean, you guys are too young. You probably don't know what happened in Davis. We have Occupy pepper spray. Have you heard about pepper spray? You see Davis student, you know pepper spray, right? That year, the Thanksgiving, there was a lot of advertisement about using pepper spray for turkey at that time. It was amazing. But at that time, it was the time of Occupy movement. And by the way, if you look at the info, this is actually the way, this chart, I actually collected data, I analyzed how people interact with each other. And at that time, this is about the same time when we were Occupy movement, you can see there's a lot of attention to this Occupy world. They have a lot of Occupy world. And guess where's the journalism? Let me tell you that this is ABC News. This is the Wall Street Journal. That's USA Today. So that one is MSNBC. Okay, you can actually see that there's a lot of, how do I say that? Oh, wait a minute. This is actually right before 2012, the election, the Obama's second term versus, who actually Obama vote against? Yeah, Mitt Romney. But who was the person? I have to look at this. This is actually there. You see that there is somebody in the middle that's actually posts a lot on Occupy Wall Street. Also posts a lot on MSNBC. Okay, MSNBC. If you remember the slide over here, is actually MSNBC is here. It's a left wing. And then Occupy movement is actually even left. It's a far left. Left, far left. And so you actually see that there was somebody who actually doing a lot of posts in between those two, between the media and between the Occupy movement. That person is a right-wing person. I mean, sorry, I haven't talked about this for a long time, but that was somebody who actually against Mitt Romney in the Republican race. Okay, that was interesting. Somebody in the right, and by the way, that is a fake account. By the way, that is a fake account. It's not just fake account, it's a bunch of fake accounts. Why is a fake account? Because I look at the time. Oh, I forgot to show you. How do I actually know? How do you actually know account is a fake account, it's a bot? It's hard because the fake account is getting better. But at that time, it's easy. Why? Because the account never goes to sleep. I actually plot when he actually do this comment, who do this like, and the thing is that I realized that, okay, wow, this person never sleep. So I published that as a paper. And after that, the bot account start to sleep. Okay, it's actually, so after that, I don't want to publish paper. If I find something about the attacker, I don't want to publish paper. I don't even want to talk more here anymore, because the more you actually reveal, the more just helping them to get better, because you actually be able to realize, they know your trick, they will do that. But that was the 2012. And you probably know, I actually want to tell you a little bit about 2016. Then I want to show you what happened in 2020. So you can actually see that there's a big problem when we have a large account online to do this kind of interaction. So this was a report by Berkman Klein Center from Harvard University. And it just happened that Bob Forrest and I were actually in the same session of misinformation in 2017. We're both invited to give the keynote at that time. So this is basically what his presentation is, looking at what happened to 2016 election. And one of the reasons he actually looked at this slide. Wait a minute, where's my famous slide? It's gone. Okay. I must actually use, okay, I'm going to pull, I probably include the wrong slide, but I want to pull the slide back. Let me try to see where's my 2017 slide. I'll just, okay, I'll just pick this one. Hopefully this one have that. Yeah, this one. So if you look at the report, the report is saying that, I mean, the report actually, I think it's correct. This is correct observation, but I have a different interpretation about how things are happening. So the report was saying that, at that time, remember that we're just basically analyzing why Clinton lost. It's so clear that it's a done deal, but why she lost. Okay, there are multiple reasons, but one of the reasons that the report pointed out is that if you look at the bias of media, so what's the dark blue? Dark blue represents that this particular news is actually talking about the scandal related to Clinton. The sky blue is something good, positive, or like the meat of her policy as president, what she's going to do is a sky blue. And similar to for pink is Trump's agenda, and red is Trump's scandal. Okay, so essentially the conclusion is you just look at the media, you actually realize the media is biased against Clinton, because most of the stuff they talk about Clinton is actually regarding her scandal. But more of the stuff about Trump is actually on the issue that he brought up. Okay, that is one type of situation that's actually looking at. I mean, this is the fact. People actually look at all the media being looked at. But this one has not included the idea of a social algorithm. Not included social, because ultimately, who actually delivered this? It's actually a social algorithm. In fact, I argue that yes, the media control part of that bias, but the social algorithm control the other part. And the social algorithm is based on the community's interests to develop. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about this slide, but this is a quantitative picture to show how strong, how aggregate the right wing is around Fox News against the left wing. So the basic idea is that in the right wing, you have a big one. You have a big one called Fox News. On the left side, you actually have a lot of smaller, the aggregate is the same, the amount of users is the same, but they separate into New York Times, CNN, Occupy, Democrat. Okay, so that's why I want to show you this picture. Let me go back to my slide. Let me get back to this side. Oh, you can see that you have a lot of media over here. And I can tell you that over here is just essentially Fox News. So Fox News is about 100 to, from that chart, it's about 2,000 bigger in terms of the influence to the power. So how do I actually illustrate that? I will use this example. Let me use this example. Where's my slide? No, here, this one. Okay, so here is a power of social algorithm. If there is something interesting that Fox News published, because Fox News, think about that, it's a huge, gigantic. Every post of Fox News attract at least 10,000 comments. The Clinton-Trump second debate attract, that single post attract 400,000 comments, not counting likes. Likes is always in the order of tens of millions. But just think about that. One post, you attract 400,000 comments, where you look at each of the left wing, you probably attract 1,000. That's already pretty good. So 1,000 comment versus 400,000 comment. So think about social algorithm. So social algorithm look at the reaction. When Fox News has something come up, I will actually just post Fox News because Fox News is this group of people, their interests. It generates 400,000 comments. The other way to think about that 400,000 comment, that means social algorithm to deliver that content to at least those 400,000 people. Think about this way. It's not saying you make the comment, it's because social algorithm first push that against you so you can make that comment. Remember that 90-second or 45-second? That is the trick. Okay, so essentially anything Fox News has, it will be published immediately. So of course, Fox News has what? Fox News has a lot of more negative toward Clinton in that sense. But in the right wing, if you talk about the size of ABC News, you probably think ABC News is big. I'm sorry, that on the left wing, they got split into smaller group. ABC News, somebody actually talked about baseball before we come in, right? Baseball or some of the major league. Those kind of sports also has a lot of popularity. The size is about the same. So when I actually want to send somebody to the left wing, the ABC News, I actually need to consider any kind of playoff or some kind of celebrity. And I have to think about which one will attract you. But this has no way against this one. This is the big one. So that is a design of the social algorithm. You think about that. And that's actually causing by itself, my interpretation about what happened to 2016 election. So I mean, I'm not saying that the Berkman Klein Center's report is actually their report is great. I really love their report, but the interpretation, as at least some part of that, into social algorithm. That's why I'm actually so worried about. Okay, that is actually 2016. I hope you get the idea. 2020, the game is totally different. Now 2016, people understand Cambridge Analytica. I know how I'm actually using a Fox News. A Fox News has maybe 60 million active user over there. Okay, so how do I actually create another Fox News? How do I actually create another Fox News? Guess what? I use bot. I use actually a fake account. Use a large amount. So in 2012, I found probably I forgot a small number of bots. But 2020, the number is huge. It's basically there's a business to help you generate the account. You pay, I think one account is about 30 cents at some point. You can actually pay to get a free Facebook account. It's not just a free Facebook account, but it actually have a cloud interface for you to have a window to manage in the batch of 1,000 account. And it's programmable, by the way, because you can actually ask the account to do whatever you want. And with the deepfake, I don't know if you remember, I talked about the deepfake technology. And the thing is that is getting really, really sophisticated. And those accounts being generated, and they provide service. They provide service for this country's election, the other country's election, and try to manipulate their general consensus of a society. So this is a cognitive warfare. So you have probably heard about this term called cognitive warfare. So essentially is not try to defeat your opponent based on your military force. You try to defeat your enemy by psychology. Essentially, we're playing that psychological game over there. And therefore, you can see that those accounts get intermingling with the real account. I mean, how many of you actually receive a friend request from somebody you actually never know? We probably all did. If you actually go into those accounts to dig a little bit, if you're interested, I can actually tell you the account, how do I identify. But one of the ideas is to look at their ID, their Facebook ID. You know what's your Facebook ID by any chance? You know how to actually see that. If you look at their Facebook ID, the ID, so let me just tell you one of the trick about the Facebook ID. How do you think Facebook generates the ID for each of the users? I'm talking about like a 32 or 64 digits of identity. Not your name, but the real Facebook ID is like a much longer version of social security number. Yes?
Is it kind of like a snowflake where it's like chronologically in order? But like...
Yes, you exactly right, chronological. So essentially, the ID represents when the account was created. That is a very important trick because if I actually create a lot of accounts recently, you can see that how come all the people contact you are being created in the last 2 months, the ID. That is one way to look at it. If you have been using Facebook long enough, your ID should be really, really earlier stage. And some of you might have a shorter format of the ID. So you can actually use this to actually understand. And because you know they're working hard. So they actually stole picture and basically try to look at, I mean, one of the interesting thing is that, let me just tell you a story. I actually found somebody try to friend with, actually not even friend with me, because I did a lot of harvesting. Okay, by the way, I did a lot of harvesting, try to look at the fake account. As I mentioned, the 65 million account I'm trying to look at. So one of the account, I actually happen to know the profile picture is one of my friends. Okay, it's somebody else, friend of a friend. So I basically tell them that, hey, I found this account and this is yours, take a look. And he look at this, and then the computer center then actually check the day before this was posted, the server was compromised. So the server was compromised and all the picture got taken out. And they actually used that picture to make an account. And that's the whole industry. They're generating such kind of account so they can actually do a lot of fooling around. Because once they actually embed it, putting here, and then it's really hard for you to actually separate who's real, who's not. And they're all actually trying to changing the social algorithm. So the key issue is here. You actually provide fake social interaction, and then eventually you actually be able to manipulate the social algorithm. And once you manipulate social algorithm based on today, I can deliver whatever I want to each one of you, just like a Cambridge Analytica, except it will be much, much sophisticated. Okay, the next round, okay, in 4 years. Okay, so now I want to actually show you this story. So hopefully I tell you that why I actually want to talk about this particular story. This particular story, I actually separate this. And all the account that's actually related, there basically has to be a physical person. If you don't have a physical person, nobody from the other country will be able to come over here. You have to have a physical person. So in other words, what I want to restrict again about the whole information dissemination or the whole idea of IoT is actually based on real person instead of based on those accounts that you can actually massively produce. So that's actually already a very important consideration when we try to do this. I can still have social algorithm, but that social algorithm will be basically based on the society will be aligned to the physical human being. So that's something which just let you know. And I don't think I have the time to talk about how do I actually handle fake news with this. But I'm going to just use the remaining whatever time to actually talk about a very simple example about coupon to let you understand what's going on. Let me actually go back to my coupon story. Any question? Yeah. Sorry. Okay, this is a story that I'm going to use this architecture to do a recommendation system. You can think about the social algorithm, but this is a social algorithm related to how the merchant is going to interact with the customer. So what do I mean by instant personalized coupon? Means that when you actually visit Safeway or Trader Joe or any of the grocery store, that the store try to understand your intention, try to understand your interest. And at that time, they're going to send you a coupon. So think about that. You're really attracted to beer. So I mean, how do I know that? Well, I'm kind of walk to every aisle with this particular constant speed. But when I actually saw there is beer, then I walk a little bit slower, 20% slower. And my eyes is actually looking at some of the products. So the AI system detect the IoT, whatever, ILOT, sorry, detect that, okay, I actually saw that this customer might be interested in this product. So now at that time, I determined on that, and I send a coupon with 50% off. This is called micro advertisement target. Sorry, micro targeting. Yeah, it's called micro targeting. And then basically, you will get a coupon, and then you might be really happy, and then you just purchase. Okay, there's a lot of ethical issues to consider here, but let me tell you the mechanism. I can actually do this with the architecture I have, because the architecture is a Raspberry Pi with a camera. So the camera is actually looking at you and connected to your phone locally because you are there. Nowhere in the yellow circle is actually have any of the information about this interaction. Okay, that's number one. Okay, so that's the simple application. But then we're asking, is this ethical? Is this ethical? Let me actually give you an example why this is a very, very interesting ethical issue. Is that whether you should send this coupon, whether this person is just a price sensitive. So say that he's okay, healthy, and he wants to have some fun, he wants to enjoy this product. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that, okay, this person may be addicted to alcohol. Or maybe this person is pregnant, is a female, and at a stage, it might be risky for her to enjoy this kind of beverage. And so the thing is, immediately we actually have to see whether that coupon can be issued, because you can imagine that when this coupon was issued, you actually changed this person's behavior. You change this person's behavior. And sometimes good, sometimes bad. And then this is immediately you realize that that is an ethical issue we talk about the whole quarter. And this, by the way, this can be generalized to any recommendation system that we want to deliver this information. Okay, so let me actually tell you that how this is going to be connected to the next one. How do I actually decide that? Okay, so number one, you can actually try to determine, okay, whether this situation, can I actually, assuming you have ethical rules saying that if a person is not pregnant, if this person is not addicted to alcohol, he's not going to do any kind of driving, whatever after this, yes, I can actually deliver. There are some conditions you can have. So how do I actually verify that? I'm actually going to ask the person, instead of harvesting, violate your privacy, I'm actually going to negotiate with your phone. Remember, this is a phone and a device, and saying that, wait a minute, is this everything? You can show me certificate about certain things you're doing. If that actually match, I will deliver you the coupon about that, and then you can actually enjoy. So this has become a ethical engine playing the role and trying to interact with the user about what's going on. By the way, the whole thing, you can see that the information is between your phone and that device that's in the store. Okay. And if you make things even more interesting, is that those things are actually connected. So for example, when you go to the grocery store again, and I'm actually bring my phone, and my phone actually connect another device actually from my fridge. And this fridge basically say, well, what kind of social interaction I have at home. And this, by the way, is also not connected from anywhere in the internet. And therefore, what happened is that those information, before you go to grocery store, you actually go here, you actually download some of the important information. And this information, when you actually go to the grocery store, that information will help you to make a decision about what is available, what kind of things you should get, or what kind of things you should not get, things like that. Okay. All right, so now I'm actually going to, so having this, telling you this example, I will just finish this part. So essentially, this is the architecture that the EthikOS project is trying to do, is that we try to make sure that the cyber interaction is aligned with physical. And we have a very important component called EthikOS engine, which is for us to actually differentiate what is an ethical concept or what is not an ethical concept. And how do we actually do that? We actually extract, I thought I mentioned this, but actually I just wanted to say that again. So what we have, I know what I want to do. I want to go back to my the first presentation. I gave this slide. Remember, this is the 3 goal of EthikOS engine. The third goal, you probably already see me talk about that. I mean, the system cannot be unethical itself. But the thing is that I'm actually want to be able to do the capable of reasoning and advising about ethic related. That is actually the core part about the EthikOS is we actually look at a lot of this kind of ethic related academic publication. We convert that into a knowledge base. And this knowledge base tell us not just saying that, oh, this concept is ethical, this concept is not ethical, but we also look at there might be some controversial view about this topic. For example, let me just give you an example. I mentioned, should a pregnant woman consume alcohol product? What's your view about this? Do you think a pregnant woman should or should not? Okay, they are journal article to expose the risk for miscarriage in this case. But there is also study to say that that risk is very low, but also drink a little bit is actually going to help the mental situation for some of the women. So there are articles, of course, the majority is still saying that you don't want to risk it. But there is some article, which is, I mean, this is probably more of, we know that probably pregnant women, for most of the culture, most of the study, even the smaller risk, we try to avoid because it's too dangerous, try to do that. But other issue is actually getting more and more gray area. So the thing is that ethics is an issue, is not just, you can, for most of the issue, it's actually pretty hard for you to tell black and white. But what you want to know is the second thing. You want to actually help people to reach an ethical decision, to help them to understand the issue. And so we need to select the most important concept within this knowledge base and provide a good advice saying that, okay, 60% of the article, think about this should be this way, healthy, unhealthy. And there is another 40% shows this. And we will show you the summarization about each of this. And so those kind of information is actually helping the individual user to actually determine himself or herself about what to do. And that is what we try to accomplish. Okay. All right. I think I'm running out of time. I think that's it. I think you got a good idea about what I try to do as my academic research. If you have any question, you can ask me anytime. But I think I should close this session and I will stay here and we'll directly go into the discussion session at 1:10. Okay.